Hi there, it's me, Divya. A warm welcome to our Indian Geography class. In the previous sessions, we were going through the physiography of India. We had already gone through the northern mountains, the North Indian plains, and the Indian islands. So today, we will be going to discuss about the coastal plains of India. Coastal plains of India. As we all know, India is a country that is surrounded by seas on three of its sides. India has a coastline of 7,516.6 km, touching 13 states and union territories. The coastal plains in India are along the west and east of the country. It extends from Kach in Gujarat in the west to the Gangetic Delta in the east. On the basis of the location and the active geomorphologic processes, these can be broadly divided into two parts, the western coastal plains and the eastern coastal plains. We now take them up one by one. First one is the western coastal plain. The western coastal plains of India extends from Rann of Kutch in the north to Kanyakumari in the south, and it lies in between Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. These are narrow plains with an average width of about 65 km. It is made up of alluvium brought down by the short streams originating from the Western Ghats. It is dotted with a large number of coves, creeks, and few estuaries. Coves are very small bays, and creeks are the narrow sheltered waterways such as an inlet in a shoreline or channel in the marsh. So starting from north to south, the western coastal plain is divided into four parts. The Kach Kathiawar coast, the Konkan coast, the Karnataka coast, and the Kerala coast. So first one is the Kach and Kathiawar region. Kach and Kathiawar, though an extension of peninsular plateau, they are still treated as integral part of the western coastal plains as they are now leveled down. So, Kach and Kathiawar Peninsula was considered as the part of peninsular plateau because Kathiawar is made of the Deccan lava and there are tertiary rocks in the Kach area also. Later, they are leveled down and so now it is considered as a part of the coastal plain. The Kach and Kathiawar Peninsula can be divided into three different plains. First one is the Kach Peninsula, the next one is the Kathiawar Peninsula, and the third one is the Gujarat Plain. So first one is the Kach Peninsula. Here we can see the Kach Peninsula in the pink color. The Kach Peninsula was an island surrounded by seas and lagoons. These seas and lagoons were later filled by sediment brought by the Indus River, which used to flow through this area. Lack of rains in recent times has turned it into arid and semi-arid landscape. So this Kach Peninsula can be divided into two, Great Rann on the north and the Little Rann on the south. Great Rann is a salt marsh which is an extension of Thar Desert. It is reputed to be one of the largest salt deserts in the world. Its southern continuation, known as the Little Rann, lies on the coast and southeast of Kach. Second part is the Kathiawar Peninsula. The Kathiawar Peninsula lies to the south of the Kach. The central part is a highland of Mandav hills from which small streams radiate in all directions. That means the streams in this area follow a radial pattern. Mount Girnar is the highest point and is of volcanic origin. The Gir range is located in the southern part of the Kathiawar Peninsula. It is covered with dense forest and is famous as home of the Gir lion. The division of the Kach and Kathiawar Peninsula is the Gujarat Plain. The Gujarat Plain lies to the east of Kach and Kathiawar and slopes towards the west and southwest. It was formed by the rivers Narmada, Tapti, Mahe and Sabarmati and the plain includes the southern part of Gujarat and the coastal areas of the Gulf of Khambat. The eastern part of this plain is fertile, enough to support agriculture, but the greater part near the coast is covered by wind-blown lice, heaps of. To the south of the Kach and Kathiawar Peninsula lies the Konkan Plain, the second division of the western coastal plain. The Konkan Plain lies to the south of the Gujarat Plain and extends from Daman to Goa. It has some features of marine erosion, including cliffs, shoals, reefs, and islands in the Arabian Sea. The Thane Creek around Mumbai is an important embayment. Embayment is a recess in the coastline forming a bay, and which provides an excellent natural harbour. Next classification is the Karnataka coastal plain. It extends from Goa to Mangalore. It is a narrow plain with an average width of 30 to 50 km, the maximum being 70 km near Mangalore. In some places, the streams originating in the western Ghats descend along the steep slopes and make waterfalls. The Sharavati, while descending over such a steep slope, makes an impressive waterfall known as Jasopa or the Jog Falls, which is the highest waterfall in India. And the southernmost part of the western coastal plain is the Kerala Plain. It is otherwise known as the Malabar Coast. It lies between Mangalore and Kanyakumari. It is much wider and a low-lying plain than the Karnataka Plain. The existence of lakes, lagoons, backwaters, spits, etc. is a significant characteristic of the Kerala coast. The backwaters, locally known as kayals, are the shallow lagoons or inlets of the sea lying parallel to the coastline. The largest among these is the Vembanar Lake, which is about 75 km long and 5 to 10 km wide and gives rise to a 55 km long spit. Now moving on to the next classification of the coastal plains, the eastern coastal plains. It extends from Subarnarekha river along the West Bengal-Odisha border to Kanyakumari. A major part of the plains is formed as a result of the alluvial fillings of the littoral zone by the rivers Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri, comprising some of the largest deltas. In contrast to the west coastal plain, these are extensive plains with an average width of 120 km. This plain is known as Northern Circus between the Mahanadi and the Krishna rivers and the Coromandel coast between the river Krishna and Kanyakumari. Now, the divisions of East Coastal Plain. Depending upon the physiographic variations, the entire plain is divided into three regions. The Odisha coast is known as the Utkal Plain, Andhra coast is known as the Andhra Plain, and the Tamil Nadu part is known as the Tamil Nadu Plain. So from north to south, they are divided into three: Utkal Plain, Andhra Plain, and the Tamil Nadu Plain. First one is the Utkal Plain. The Utkal Plain comprises coastal areas of Odisha. It includes the Mahanadi Delta. The most prominent physiographic feature of this plain is the Chilka Lake. It is the biggest lake in India and it lies to the south of the Mahanadi Delta. Its area varies between 780 square kilometer in winter to 1144 square kilometer in the monsoon months. South of the Chilka Lake, low hills dot the plain. Next classification is the Andhra Plain. It lies to the south of the Utkal Plain and it extends up to the Pulikat Lake. This lake has been barred by a long sand spit known as the Sriharikota Island. The most significant feature of this plain is the delta formation by the rivers Godavari and Krishna. In fact, these two deltas have merged with each other and formed a single physiographic unit. The combined delta has advanced by about 35 km towards the sea during the recent years. This part of the plain has a straight coast and badly lacks good harbours with the exception of Vishakhapattanam and Machilipattanam. The next one is the Tamil Nadu Plain, which is the southernmost part of or the division of the eastern coastal plain. It stretches for 675 km from Pulikat Lake to Kanyakumari along the coast of Tamil Nadu. Its average width is 100 km. The most important feature of this plain is the Kaveri Delta, where the plain is 130 km wide. The fertile soil and the large-scale irrigation facilities have made the Kaveri Delta the granary of South India. Now, let's have a look into the comparison of the western coastal plains and the eastern coastal plains. The western coastal plains, except the Malabar Plain, are a product of the submergence of the land, whereas the eastern coastal plains are the product of the emergence due to deposits. The western coastal plains are located between the Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats, whereas the eastern coastal plains are located between the Bay of Bengal and the Eastern Ghats. The western coastal plains are drained by several short and swift streams which do not form any deltas, whereas the eastern coastal plains, they are drained by a number of large rivers. The western coastal plains have an indented coastline, whereas the eastern coastal plains have a linear coastline. Western coastal plains are narrow with an average width of 64 km. The eastern coastal plains are broader with an average width of 80 to 100 km. And finally, the significance of the coastal plains. The coastal plains are agriculturally very productive. The western coast grows specialized tropical crops while the eastern coast witnessed a green revolution in rice. The delta regions of the eastern coastal plains have a good network of canals across the river tributaries. The coastal plains are a source of salt, monazite, and mineral oil and gas as well as centers of fisheries. Although lacking in adequate natural harbors, with a number of major and minor ports, coastal plains are centers of commerce and have attracted dense human settlements. The coastal regions of India are noted for tourist centers, fishing and salt making. So that's all for now. Thank you. Have a nice day.